At Black Sea Offstage Talks is back again, and at the moment we're here with Rishad Patel, a product and design professional and the co-founder of Splice Media, 50% of Splice Media, as you mentioned, and he has a vast number of media companies around the world in his portfolio, which he helped to create. So first of all, Rishad, how are you enjoying Batumi and at Black Sea overall?
I really love it. I'm so impressed by the scale and the professionalism of the team here. So huge shout out to the Ad Black Sea team. It's I didn't expect this massive scale and this diversity of advertising producers from around the world. So very cool.
Nice to hear you're enjoying it. As you know, this year's topic of At Black Sea is devotion. And you of all people have devoted yourself to creating and consulting news media outlets around the globe. How have you come to this conclusion that this is the field that needs involvement of professionals like you?
Thank you for asking that, because I think Splice, my little company that I co-founded with my friend and partner Alan Soon, came really as the result of a conversation that Alan and I used to have as friends, and we thought, why is journalism so much about supply of content? Why is journalism one of the only industries in the world that focuses on supply but not enough on demand? And I'm curious that every other industry in the world focuses on demand, focuses on user needs, says where's the gap in the market, what can we do to fill that gap? When you supply a content or product or services for that gap, you address a need, you serve your customer, you make money, you build a business, everything's happy, everything's viable. We like the word viable. So I think we started out by seeing this gap. And we are big fans of journalism. Alan has been a career journalist. I've been a career product design strategy kind of creative guy that's always worked with journalists and worked with newsrooms. So I think the gap we saw was very much this: how do we make journalism survive? People were losing their jobs. It was becoming less relevant. Organizations were closing down. Journalists were getting laid off. It's been on that decline, and we think that the decline is from relevance or the absence of relevance. So that's the gap we chose to close. We wanted to service and help journalism companies and information producers to actually close the gap between survival and viability, between themselves and their audience, and between supply and demand.
Thank you. Splice Media focuses on helping newsrooms and media companies innovate and adapt to modern technologies and modern times. What advice would you give to others looking to build something new in the media industry?
Wow. Okay. So one of the things that we recently launched as a company of two people, somebody once introduced us as the world's largest two-person company, which was exciting. As a company of two people, I think one of the great strengths that we have is that we're always willing to experiment. We're two grumpy middle-aged guys in Asia. I've recently moved from Asia to Europe. Now I live in Lisbon from Singapore. But I think Alan and I have always been willing to experiment. One new product that we have is coaching. We call it Splice Coaching. And the reason is that we're seeing a gap. We're seeing people in real trouble. There's a real crisis afoot. There's a real crisis of confidence because, newsrooms are closing down. So the idea here is to be able to try and not save journalism, I think what we're not worried about the future of journalism. We're not worried about trying to save journalism. What we're trying to do is help anybody who starts a new venture to say, don't build your product first. Look at your user first. Where is the need? Who needs your podcast? Who needs your new YouTube channel? Who needs this? Who woke up this morning and said, I wish there was more content. I wish there was another YouTube channel. If only there were more TikTok.
Yeah, just don't be another one of the bunch.
Exactly. Why would you be another one? Build a whole new product, hire people, invest in rent and infrastructure and talent and time, and then go and gamble it all away on some platform for distribution. For who? So what we're saying is, don't build first and market later. Market first. Ask people, what do you need? Not what content you need. What do you need in your life? What is your problem? What needs do you have? What are you struggling with? How can we help? Build your business around that relevance.
Yeah, I could relate as a strategist that people try to say that everybody's my audience, but nobody wants to be like everybody, like nobody wants to be an average person. Everybody has their own distinctive features, interests. Yes.
None of us identify as, hey, I'm mass audience. I'm an average person. I know I'm not supposed to talk, but you were just telling me about your food truck business. You do strategy. You didn't choose to say, I make all the food in the world. Anything you like, I will make for you in my food truck. Because that's not how audiences are. That's not how your user is. You decided on one single sandwich. You made a Cubano.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a really good business model to make just everything for
Exactly
everyone, right? Yeah.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's a very good comparison, I think. In modern times, we live in a time where access of information is on everyone's palm's reach, and news travels faster than ever. But it also creates many problems, such as fake news, especially during tense political moments, such as election years, such as in Georgia and in the US. How would you explain the importance of design of news outlets? What change can it make to shape a better future through design?
That's a question nobody's ever asked me before, and I love that. Thank you for asking me that. I think there are two realizations that come to mind immediately, and one is that I don't think there is a scenario where news is in competition with news any longer. That's not how industries work, especially not the information industries. And I say information. I don't just mean news or media And I think that's because for the user, the interesting thing is that your news in this attention economy, your news is not competing with another news channel. Your news is competing with your WhatsApp message. It's also competing with, my TikTok. It's competing with the email that I just got, a phone call that I have to make, an interview I have, a friend I've got to see. That's your competition.
Would you say it's a competition for humans' attention?
Correct.
Yeah.
So your competition isn't going, oh wait, should I choose between CNN and the BBC? That era is over, if it even existed. We assume these competition guidelines because it makes it neater and tidier for us to say this industry competes with only other people in this industry. But we're competing with meetings, with children, with real problems that people have. So in order to survive there, I think what design can do is to be honest. Design begins not just visually, right? Design begins in the email you send someone. Design is in a unsubscribe policy where you're able to disengage from a media company. Paradoxically, if I could unsubscribe from the New York Times, and if it was easier to quit my membership, I would trust them a little more. If I could see or unsubscribe in, 3-point type in light gray on white, that's where visual design comes in and plays an important part in trust. I don't mean to use Splice as an example or a benchmark of anything. We're not a publisher. But we put our unsubscribe link right at the top of our newsletters and say, unsubscribe now. No hard feelings. I think design begins there. Design begins in how hospitable you are with your customer. Something I'm learning right from in my Ad Black Sea experience. I had a really enthusiastic design student called Maro pick me up from the airport at 1:30 in the morning and, bring me back 2.5 hours from Kutaisi to Batumi. I thought that was real service. I think that's good design. I think great design begins with trust and openness and to be able to create that experience.
And I guess respect the audience that they have other things to do and they just would want to make you part of their everyday life.
Exactly right. An audience that says, wait a minute, you're talking to me? You're not just treating me as audience, or they don't know anything. We're journalists, we must educate them. I have a problem with that approach. I have a problem with an email address that begins with no reply at adblacksea.com, which, that's not the good design. Good design is, I will pick you up, I will entertain you, I will chat to you, I'll bring you to your hotel, I'll check you in. We need to learn from this.
Yeah, would you say that the media has become also a two-way communication, because it used to be just people should only have listened, and now you have to listen to people also?
That's the thing about, I think, journalism and media, some of the best, in its best, most beautiful form. We need to realize that media has always been a two-way conversation. It always has. It's just that one side wasn't listening. That's why we call them audiences. Audiences, what is an audience? Why do we even use that term? It comes from the Middle Ages. An audience implies a passive bunch of faceless people in a dark auditorium, and who have no names and no faces and no mass and no body and no self and no personality and no voice. And that I have a problem with. It isn't an audience. We need to abolish that term. These are not audiences. These are, call them whatever else you like. But an audience signifies passivity. We need to give them the respect, look them in the face and say, what do you need? How can I help?
That's a great thought I have to contemplate on. For anyone who couldn't manage to attend this year's Ad Black Sea, what would you tell them what they missed out on, and why should they try to attend next year's Ad Black Sea?
So one of the great surprises for me here has been, it's been wonderful. And if you couldn't attend this year, and if you're contemplating either buying a ticket or sponsoring, or actually applying to be a speaker or pitching, or even contemplating becoming a volunteer, I would say come here. You will learn from the people on stage, you will learn from the people sitting next to you, and you will learn from the volunteers and the crew. Come here to learn. It's the only way you could actually teach. I know I'm learning a lot. I consider myself fortunate to be able to do so. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for sharing your time with us. Thank you, Rishad.